Hello everyone and welcome to today's lesson. Today we are going to learn about division of numbers. And the topics that we will learn are terms used in division, division on the number line, some facts about division, relationship between multiplication and division, long division, division of greater numbers, and word problems. Now here is something to warm up before we get into the lesson. Here we have 12 pencils and here 4 boys. We need to divide 12 pencils amongst 4 boys. Now, if we give the 4 boys equally from 12 pencils, we can see that the 12 pencils can be divided into 4 groups of 3 pencils. So, 12 divided by 4 is 3. Now, let's talk about the terms that we use in division. This symbol right here is known as the division symbol. Division means to share things equally. For example, we have 8 balls over here. These 8 balls divided equally in 4 groups gives us 2 balls in each group. That means 8 divided by 4 is equal to 2. Now, if you take a look at this division statement, it has 3 parts. 8, which is the dividend, 4, which is the divisor, and 2, which is the quotient. The dividend is the number that is divided, or we can say it is the total number that needs to be distributed. Then comes 4, the divisor. The divisor is what divides the dividend, or we can say the number of groups. Finally, we have the answer, which is known as the quotient. The quotient is the number of items in each group. Division on the number line. Now, how we divide on the number line is by skip counting backwards. Let me give you an example. Let's divide 18 by 6. Now here is the number line. We need to skip count backwards in 6s until we reach 0. So count with me. From 18 we go 17, 16, 15, 14, 13 and 12. This is the first 6 skip count. So that's 1 jump. Let's go 6 counts back again. 11, 10, 9, 8, 7 and 6. That's 2 jumps. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and 0. That brings us to 3 jumps. So the number of jumps that it took us to reach from 18 to 0 are 3 jumps. Hence, 18 divided by 6 is equal to 3. Here are some facts about division. Now, if we divide any number by 1, dividing any number by 1 gives us the same number as the answer. For example, 15 divided by 1 is 15 because we are dividing 15 in just one group. Now, when we divide a number with itself, the answer is always 1. For example, 38 divided by 38 is equal to 1 because there is one number in each group. Dividing 0 by any number. When we divide 0 by any number, the answer is always going to be 0 because we have nothing to divide. Now I hope you understood that. So let's test it with an exercise. Look at these division facts and name all the components. I'll help you with the first one. 8 divided by 2 is equal to 4. Over here, 8 is the dividend, 2 is the divisor, and 4 is the quotient. So let's try and fill in some blanks. I'll help you with the first one. 18 divided by 1 is equal to 18. Now let's try dividing on the number line. I'll help you out with the first question. 12 divided by 3. So we need to count in 3 skips from 12 till we reach 0. So we can see that it takes us 4 jumps if we skip 3 counts to reach 0 from 12. Hence, 12 divided by 3 is equal to 4. Now let's look at the relationship between division and multiplication. Now let me give you an example. Let's say we have 4 groups of 2 apples each. If we put them together, which means 4 into 2 is equal to 8 apples. Now, if we have 8 apples in total and we divide them in such a way that each tray has 2 apples, we get 4 trays of 2 apples each. Here we can see that 8 divided by 4 is equal to 2. Now did you notice something? Each multiplication fact has a corresponding division fact. This is how multiplication and division are related. Now I hope you understood that. Let's try it out in some exercises. I'll help you with the first one. Now, we need to write down the multiplication and division fact for the following. Let's see. We have 4 sandwiches in 4 plates. So, in multiplication fact, that means 4 into 4 is equal to 16. And if we have to divide the same total 16 sandwiches, we can say 16 divided by 4 is equal to 4. Now, we need to write division facts for the given multiplication facts. I'll help you with the first one. Now, 4 into 4 is equal to 16. So the division fact for this will be 16 divided by 4 is equal to 4. Now, we need to find the dividend for the given questions. I'll help you out with the first one. So here we have dash divided by 9 is equal to 8. We know that the dividend is equal to the divisor into the quotient. So the dividend for this question will be 9 into 8, which is 72. So 72 divided by 9 is equal to 8. Long division. Now let's talk about long division and how to divide a 2-digit number with a 1-digit number. A division statement can be written in many ways. Another way to write it in is known as the long division method. For instance, let's take the statement 12 divided by 2 is equal to 6. How do we write this in the long division way? The step 1 is to draw this symbol as shown. Step 2, we need to write down the dividend in the place as shown. Step 3, write the divisor in the place shown. Step 4, now let's recall where does 12 fall in the table of 2, which is the divisor. We can see that 2 into 6 is equal to 12. Step 5. Since we know 6 into 2 is equal to 12, we will write 6 on top of the dividend as shown. Step 6. When we subtract 12 from 12, we get 0. Hence, 6 is the quotient. This is how we write 12 divided by 2 is equal to 6 in long division. Now I hope you understood that. Let's test it with an exercise. 48 divided by 6. If we recall in the table of 6, we see that 6 into 8 is equal to 48. Hence, we will write 8 above the dividend as shown. When we subtract 48 from 48, we get 0. Hence, 48 divided by 6 is equal to 8. Division with a remainder. Now it is not always possible to find equal groups. For example, 14 divided by 3. In this case, we have to find 3 groups to divide 14 equally. Now step 1 will be to recall where does 14 fall in the table of 3. Step 2. We can see that 14 is not there in the table of 3. So let's look of a number that is just smaller to 14. The answer is 12. Step 3. We can see that 4 into 3 is equal to 12. So we write 4 above the dividend as shown and 12 below the dividend as shown. When we subtract 12 from 14, we get 2. Since the number 2 is smaller than 3, we cannot divide it further. So, 4 is the quotient and 2 is the remainder. The remainder must always be smaller than the divisor. Now, I hope you understood that. Let's try it out with an exercise. I'll help you with the first one. 20 divided by 4. If we check the table of 4, we see that 20 falls in 4:5, which means 5 into 4 is equal to 20. Here, we will write 5 on top of the dividend and 20 below the dividend. When we subtract 20 from 20, we get 0. So, the quotient is 5 and the remainder is 0. So, 20 divided by 4 is equal to 5. Now, let's look into the division of greater numbers. The first would be a quotient with 2 digits with the remainder as 0. Let's take a look at this example. 84 divided by 4. We can see that 84 has 8 tens and 4 ones. So first, let's divide the tens by the divisor. 8 divided by 4 is equal to 2. So we write 2 in the tens place of the quotient, writing 8 under the tens place of the dividend and subtract it. Step 2. Let's bring down 4 from the ones place to the dividend. Now, we need to divide 4 by 4. That is, 4 divided by 4 is equal to 1. Let's write 1 in the quotient and 4 below 4 and subtract it to get 0. Here we can see the divisor is 4, the dividend is 84, quotient is 21 and the remainder is 0. The dividend is equal to the divisor into the quotient plus the remainder, which means 4 into 21 plus 0 is equal to 84. Division with regrouping. Let's take a look at this example. Divide 54 by 3. Step 1. 54 has 5 tens and 4 ones. First divide 5 by 3. That is, we get 1 as the quotient and 2 as the remainder. Writing 1 in the tens place of the quotient, we will write 3 under the tens place of the dividend and subtract it. 5 minus 3 is equal to 2. Let's bring the 4 down to the ones place of the dividend. We now have to divide 24 by 3, which means 24 by 3 is equal to 8. Write 8 in the ones place of the quotient and 24 below 24. We subtract them to get 0. A 2-digit quotient with a remainder greater than 0. Let's take a look at this example. 78 divided by 5. Step 1. 78 has 7 tens and 8 ones. We first divide 7 by 5 with 1 as the quotient, leaving 2 as the remainder. We now write 2 in the tens place of the dividend. Step 2. bring down 8 to the ones place of the dividend. We now divide 28 by 5. Now, since 28 doesn't perfectly go in the table of 5, we take the number less and closest to 28. 5 into 5 is equal to 25. We write 5 in the ones place of the quotient and 25 below 28. When we subtract 28 and 25, we get 3. Since the remainder is smaller than the divisor, we cannot divide it further. So the remainder is 3 and the quotient is 15. Let's test it out with an exercise. 57 divided by 5. Let's deal with the tens place first. 5 into 1 is equal to 5. So 1 goes in the tens place of the quotient and we write 5 under 5. Subtract it to get 0. Let's bring down 7 to the ones place of the dividend. We now have to divide 7 by 5. Since 7 doesn't perfectly go in the table of 5, we take the number closest and smaller to it, which is 5. 5 ones are 5. We write 1 in the tens place of the quotient and 5 below 7. When we subtract 5 from 7, we get 2. Since the remainder is now smaller than the divisor, we cannot divide further. So the answer is 11, the quotient, and 2 as the remainder. Word problems. Now we already know how to identify if a word problem involves addition, subtraction, or multiplication. But if a problem is talking about equal shares or dividing something equally, then we are talking about division. Let me give you an example. How many tricycles can we make using 93 wheels? So, the number of wheels that we have are 93. Each tricycle has 3 wheels. So, how many tricycles can we make? We need to divide 93 wheels in groups of 3. So, 93 divided by 3. We get the answer as 31. So, we can make 31 tricycles out of 93 wheels. I hope you understood that. Let's test it out with an exercise. I'll help you out with the first one. Rohit's pet store has 56 tropical fish. They place 7 fishes in one tank. How many tanks do they have? The answer is pretty simple. We have 56 fish and we need to divide them into groups with each group having 7 fishes. So, 7 fishes in each tank. So, 56 divided by 7 is equal to 8. They have 8 fish tanks.